Hello, people. This week I read Frankenstein, a classic. I can see why we still like it, why it's still read. I don't. I didn't really like it, to be honest. I've read a bunch of these classics now for the YouTube channel here, and some of them hold up extremely well. Moby Dick, your Dracula, hold up extremely well. Heart of Darkness. This is the first one I've read, and I'm like, kind of doesn't hold up. And I'm wondering why. So, obviously, the story is very well known. They've made, I don't know how many millions of movies about it. And I can see why. From a movie perspective, it's very dramatical in everything that it does. Our main character, Victor Frankenstein, likes the sciences, reads the books, goes to college, and learns more stuff. So it's a mixture of your old world alchemy, those hidden tomes, and your new world modern science. I guess you want to merge the two, and you can come up with this grand idea. His grand idea being, if you zap a corpse with enough juice, you can reanimate it. You can make it live again. It's a great science fiction idea. The gruesome part, you would think, is gruesome, but like not. We don't harp on it. And this is where I think, I'm going to say that it's a female writer. I've noticed this I've noticed it most with Pride and Prejudice, and now with this one, wherein men and women writers just will focus on different things sometimes. And like your Pride and Prejudice, it gets a little harder to read in spots. Not to read as in I don't know the words, as in to follow along with what's happening. Because it's like my eye is trained on this action and her mind jumps actions. So like in Pride and Prejudice, you can be like, everything's going great, war, and then we go back to the party. Kind of. I'm like, well, a lot happened here, and my mind gets distracted. This kind of energy. That energy is alive in this book. Wherein your scientist Frankenstein like loses track. You would think if you made a creature with a lightning bolt, obviously you see it and it terrorizes you. Let's say that's what happens. I think a lot of guys would be hyped. They did the thing, but he was terrorized. When he comes back to the lab, the thing's just gone, and he's like, nah. We have that a lot, and the Frankenstein monster will like attack him, right? So at one point it kills like his brother or nephew or some relation to him, and he's like real focused on like I gotta get the murderer. Then he just like moves. I'll go to London for a while. Maybe this will blow over. I'm like, these things don't blow over. It's a massive monster that you created. How is it just gonna blow over? We get this a lot, like 3 times or 4 times, like major moments in this book. So I believe the brother or the nephew or whatever, the relation dies. And then he's like, I'm doing something else now. He's very depressed about it, mind you. The whole time he's very angsty about it. Then I believe his friend dies. What was his friend's name? Clerval. That's his friend's name. His friend, I believe, dies. And then he's real gung-ho again. And then he just like, well, I gotta marry this lady. I love her, Elizabeth. But like the monster whispered in your ear, like, I'll be there on your wedding night. But I'm just gonna forget about that for a while. Marry this lady. Boom, she ended up dead. And you're like, brother, handle your problem. But in the writing itself, you don't get a sense that it is a problem. This constant detaching from the issue at hand, which again leads me to think that I wouldn't say issue, that the disconnect is because it's a female writer. In a sense, again, let's not get too political here. I'm not saying women can't be writers. Calm down. But I think it does lead to the other sort of aspect of the book I don't like. Now, maybe it's because I'm such a big fan of science fiction, or maybe it's become a very popular genre. Probably because of this book. I'm wondering if there's an older science fiction book than this. I'm not exactly sure. It is pretty old, though. Again, all credit to it for that. But in the years between then and now, the audience takes science fiction a lot differently now than then. So, your monster's made, and we start hearing from him about his situation, and it's supposed to be blank slate. So he doesn't know what fire is. He doesn't know some of these cons. I'm glad that it's warm. Then I'm burnt. I'm trying to get around people, but they're horrified by me. Right? And I'm like, I think the big issue is your world building. So, a baby's born, and like, the brain fires off, I don't know how many thousands of neurons, and that's how the arms just flopping around. It's learning how to move its arms. This is a creature made by lightning of pieces of other people. So, are we saying that the knowledge to know how to move one's arms is built into the hardware, or is it software? Because he has concepts of some things and then not concepts of others. If you don't have any experiences at all, and everyone looks at you with revulsion, you don't know what revulsion is. You just think that's how people look at other people. It's like if a wolf growls at you, you're like, wolves growl. And then other people go, wolves don't normally growl, they're only growling at you. Then you start to level off and place things where they need to be. But he instantly knows it's revulsion. See? And she doesn't go too deep into one way or the other how. It's not a concern for her. It's just of course you're revolted by this person that's pieces of people. But I'm thinking from the monster's point of view, and like, why would he understand what revulsion is? The same as when he comes to he meets his creator, he meets Frankenstein, and he has this sort of long conversation about, you're my creator, you're responsible for me, and I'm alone out here in the world, I'm miserable, etc. If you're talking to your creator, and this is the state of your existence, then this must just be the state of existence. Who are you to tell your creator that this is in any way wrong? You see? But we don't get any piece that says this is allowed, or where this is where this comes from. And if it does come from the pieces, then we don't get any of the character traits that would also come with it. A la, i.e., so we're going to say certain things are inherent to humans. The right to freedom, to be loved, to understand emotion. Then some of the other autonomous ideas come with it as well. At some point, a baby will decide what he wants to reach for, he or she. They might like red, they might not like red, for no other reason, right? There's no hidden trauma to the red, nothing like this. It's just a choice. That want, wherever that comes from, again, is that in the hardware? or is it in the software? It's sort of a question that floats around this story, and without it answered, the things start to come at odds with the other parts of the thing. If he's large and strong, he doesn't accidentally kill someone. He chooses the first murder he kills, and he knows that that's wrong. And I'm like, why? He is the first in his race of beings. There has never been a being of humans made up of other parts of humans brought to life by a human with lightning. So, who's to say anything that he does is wrong or right? His creator? Other people? Why would he be judged by other people? They didn't make him. Frankenstein could judge him. But Frankenstein's not around. So if this person squirms and I just crush their neck, it's just a thing that happened. That's not what happens. What happens is he gets like a vendetta against Frankenstein for leaving him alone in the cold. I'm like, what would he know about warm if he's always only been in the cold? Unless the memory of cold versus warm is in the hardware, the pieces of people he's made of. So he grabs this kid knowing that he's Frankenstein's relation and like kills him and starts like a massive vendetta to just ruin Frankenstein's life. And then he's like, well, if you make a woman for me, then I'll be at peace and I'll have a companion, just, and I'll go on with myself and you can go on with your life. And he's like, okay, I'll make it. Which I'm like, again, if the pieces are any kind of aware, to make you harass first. You harass, then you ask, then you up the ante. So, you don't start by killing someone they love. It gives them a reason to hate you, which is what happens here. You're Frankenstein. He's making the lady, right? And he's horrified by it, and he's thinking all these things like, I could spawn a new race that would take over the world because they're too big and strong, and they're smart. And he looks out the window, and like the Frankenstein's way away, but he can see him, and he's like got a smirk on his face, like, yeah. And of course then he's mad and he tears up the body and Frankenstein rages. I mean, the monster rages. So I'm like, if you don't kill the kid first and ask for a lady, then maybe he'll make you a lady. But you went for kill the kid first, then you try and justify it, which I guess your justification could work. You make a plea to his softer side, saying, I'm alone out here in the cold, you kind of left me. And then he'll make you a lady. Instead, you went this hard way. Ups the ante, kills the friend, kills the lady, and then it's just like chasing him out into the wilderness. And this is basically the story where he's running them ragged, meaning the monster knows Frankenstein's following him, and he's not good enough to, so that every so often he'll leave them like rabbits to eat, saying, keep your strength up, I'm not done with you yet. But he's like, I must follow until, he gets a pneumonia or something and dies. A rip Frankenstein. And then the monster's like kind of emo about it. That's how the story ends. It's not a long story. It tries to deal more with the emotionality, right? The internal turmoils. I guess I can't just buy in as well as I should be able to. The writing's fantastic enough. It does something, what is it? Sort of Dracula did the same thing, wherein we're telling the story in like letter form. So there's a traveler, forget the traveler's name. He's way out, and they see this guy running, and the other guy ends up being Frankenstein, who tells them this story. So I'm like, here's guy writing letter, and the letter is Frankenstein's story. So we're kind of like 3 tiers deep here. That works well enough. It moves the thing along. We don't get bogged down by too many descriptors. We're assuming that people understand the world that they're in. But it got me thinking. I was like, wonder why more people don't try stories like this. Authors today seem to really enjoy a first-person narration. I don't think they always do it well, but that's beside the point. This seems like a good way to move that kind of story along. But then I'm like, well, no one writes letters anymore. And I'm like, this is also true. But we have social media, right? So if you made like one of these stories and substitute in any kind of person discovering these letters, instead of letters, they're text messages and social media posts kind of situation, you could kind of get the same thing going in a modern sense. I think it'd be kind of cool if someone tried it. Alright, this is a short video. I can't help that. I cannot help. So I'll also go short with my lovely ads. These are my books. My books aren't that long, to be honest. At least not the ones that I have here. You can buy them. You can get Kindle Unlimited and read them there and read other books and so not lose any cash. You can subscribe to the channel, you can leave a comment. We're good any kind of way. I will talk to you, lovely lot, next week.